3, 2, 1.
What do you see here? An American fighter jet in action. What do I see? A machine weighing 14.7 tons, the equivalent of 17 military jeeps. Half of that weight is loaded with high-precision missiles. And now, what do you see? Maybe a high-tech marvel of modern warfare. What I see? Just numbers. Pure money. The most basic models of these aircraft cost an average of $100 million each. The United States alone operates 13,000 of them. The question almost no one asks is, why? We're talking trillions of dollars, trillions that could end world hunger. The real question, my friend, isn't where the money is going. It's where it's really coming from. You probably think war is about ideology, democracy versus dictatorship, good versus evil, or some story like that. But the truth is much simpler. War is a business, and one of the most profitable businesses that exist. No matter who wins the battle, guess who always profits? The ones selling weapons to both sides. Want to know how this game really works? Then clear your mind, shut out all the noise, and come with me. It's time. Let's begin.
Air raid sirens blared out across the capital.
It started early this morning.
The Russian president says a military operation is now underway in eastern Ukraine. Ukraine has declared a state of emergency.
The full-scale invasion that intelligence officials had been warning about for weeks is now underway, and there are reports of explosions and attacks at several major Ukrainian cities. Starting in the city of Kiev, there has been reports of explosions.
After days on the razor's edge, Ukraine is now a nation at war. Just hours ago, Russian forces began their attack. President Vladimir Putin warning other countries that any attempt to interfere with the Russian action will lead to, quote, consequences they have never seen.
This video from Ukraine's National Border Guard Service. It is said to be surveillance camera video, so it's silent. But what you can see in these pictures, a road near the border with Belarus.
In February 2022, Russian troops crossed into Ukraine. The official justification: defense and protection of sovereignty. At first, Putin called it a special operation, but it quickly became a full-scale war that triggered a global domino effect. Military spending exploded. The United States poured in billions in aid packages. The whole world went on alert. The conflict spread. Ukraine, Gaza, Israel, Iran. And on February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched nearly 900 strikes in just 12 hours against Iran, killing Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and destroying key nuclear facilities and missile bases. What our eyes see is pure destruction. Lives being lost. Missiles flying. But if there's one thing this channel has shown in every video, it's that there is always a game behind the game. And this one, more than any other, is not just about power, not just about control. It is mainly about money. Here is a truth most people ignore. Wars are extremely expensive, and the most powerful people in the world don't spend trillions on impulse or vanity. Wake up, read between the lines. They never press a button without first calculating the return. Every single shot can be profitable, and those in power know exactly where to position themselves to collect the spoils.
Founded BlackRock in 1988, 37 years ago, which had a market value at the time of $300 million. The BlackRock stock price closed yesterday at $988.97, a market capitalization of approximately $153 billion. And this is the fun part. The stock price increase from that time is 6,964%, and the market capitalization has increased 17,000%.
Let's get to the facts. Lockheed Martin, America's largest arms supplier, saw its stock jump nearly 40% right after the war began. While families were being destroyed, shareholders were celebrating. Defense stocks around the world soared over 100%. BlackRock and Vanguard, the largest investment funds on the planet, broke all-time records. Energy companies are profiting from skyrocketing oil and gas prices, and the big banks are making indirect gains from war bonds and reconstruction funds. So, where does all this money actually come from? It doesn't come from taxes. It comes from the money printer. The Federal Reserve printed trillions of dollars to fund these massive military packages. The result? Roughly 17% of the population's purchasing power was quietly transferred into the hands of those already at the top. Here's how it works. Every war creates ruin. Cities are destroyed. Infrastructure collapses. Entire populations fall into chaos. The government has to react. So the central bank prints money. Trillions are injected into the system with one click. They call it stimulus. Stimulus for who? For those who are already positioned, of course. Big corporations are ready to sign billion-dollar contracts, fix the damage, and cash in. Chaos spreads. Affected countries turn to the IMF and take loans with heavy interest. But who ends up paying that debt? You do. Through inflation, through taxes, through the silent loss of your purchasing power. Business is good. Profit is made. Time to restart the cycle. War, ruin, money printing, billion-dollar contracts, international loans, more debt, new cycle. The game is rigged, and they will keep playing it. The question I ask you is, how long are we going to keep funding this table? If you truly want to understand who built this table from the beginning, we need to go back in time to the exact day one man seized a golden opportunity, a decision that would change the world forever. London, 1815. Europe is at war once again. Napoleon Bonaparte, the general who had already conquered half the continent, escaped from Elba and marched toward Belgium. The British forces were waiting. The final clash was inevitable. The Battle of Waterloo, which would decide the future of Europe. Fortunes were on the line. While the generals prepared on the battlefield, in the streets of London, a different kind of war was about to be won. Not by an army, but by one unarmed man. His name? Nathan Mayer Rothschild, the fourth of 5 sons from a German banking family. That day, he wasn't looking for glory. He just wanted to get there first, before the official reports, before the government, before the market. All he wanted was information. He knew that whoever learned the outcome of Waterloo first would have the power to make a fortune. Nathan understood the enormous power that comes with seeing the future before everyone else. That's why he had prepared. He built a private network of messengers faster than any government system of the time. And then he got what he wanted. Nathan knew exactly what that letter meant. He held the most valuable information in Europe in his hands, and if he wanted to seize the opportunity of a lifetime, he had to act fast. It was a race against time. He didn't shout. He didn't celebrate. He didn't hesitate. He simply ran, not to buy the right stocks, but to sell them. When he burst into the London Stock Exchange, everyone noticed. He was one of the most influential men in the market, and that day, drawing attention was part of the strategy. He sold everything: bonds, stocks, land. Investors panicked. If the Rothschilds are selling, something terrible must have happened. Chaos took over. Everyone started selling, believing Napoleon had won. The exact opposite of what had actually happened. It was all part of the plan. As soon as prices crashed, Nathan's agents quietly returned and began buying everything back. While that city mourned a defeat that never happened, Nathan was already harvesting the fruits of a victory only he knew about. From that day on, the already successful Rothschild family became the most influential financial dynasty on the planet. Those who had eyes to see understood what that event truly meant. Whoever controls information controls the market, and whoever controls war controls the information. That's why what started with one man, one letter, and one decision would end up changing the world forever. Georgia, 19th century. Almost 100 years had passed since Nathan Rothschild's great move, but it was never forgotten. That market manipulation was only the prototype of a much larger system, a draft that, a century later, would become a complete plan. In the winter of 1910, 6 men boarded a train heading to a small coastal island called Jekyll for a secret meeting, so secret that they all used fake names. Only 10 years later was the list of participants revealed. They were some of the most powerful bankers in America. Here's where it gets interesting. One of them was Paul Warburg, a banker with direct ties to the Rothschild family. He knew the inner workings of the European banking system. He knew exactly what it took to control an entire economy without having to pick sides. But first, they had to solve one small problem: the decentralization of the financial system. The banking system was made up of thousands of regional banks, issuing currency backed by gold reserves. The gold standard acted like a tight collar. It prevented bankers from expanding credit the way they really wanted to. Whenever the public suspected the gold standard wasn't being honored, bank runs would start. Chaos would take over the financial system. They needed to create something new, a system that allowed unlimited money expansion, centralized credit control, and served the interests of those in charge. That was exactly what was being planned on Jekyll Island. 3 years later, the Federal Reserve was born, a private central bank with superpowers, the ability to create credit out of nothing, leverage the system, and finance governments during crises, run by the same people who helped create it. The system was ready. Now it just needed a big excuse to turn on the money printer without limits. After all, a system designed to finance crises only needed one thing to start working: the biggest crisis of all. In 1914, exactly 1 year after the creation of the Federal Reserve, the largest crisis the world had ever seen began: World War I. While the whole world watched the headlines, the richest men watched the charts. Because now the plan drawn up on Jekyll Island finally had a purpose. Sure, it could have been a coincidence, but it was an extraordinarily convenient one. It was the perfect chance to test the new financial system. After all, what better way to launch a central bank than with a continental war? If wars cost money, the biggest one would need an enormous amount of it. Governments around the world would need to support entire armies, build ships, feed troops, and keep the war industry running 24 hours a day. And who could provide that? The Fed. Here's how it worked. The Treasury issued war bonds. The Federal Reserve bought them or accepted them as collateral to inject liquidity into the banks. The banks then multiplied that credit through loans. The machine started turning. The so-called Liberty bonds became a fever. The government sold them with the slogan, "Buy a bond, help your country, be a hero." It was perfect marketing. In practice, these bonds were loans that citizens made to the government to pay for tanks, weapons, food, and soldiers' salaries. But here's the key point. The money didn't go straight to the battlefield. It went through the banks. And the banks, now capitalized by the Fed, lent to the governments, charged fees, brokered the bond sales, and made huge profits. The money that flowed through the banks ended up in the hands of governments and went straight to arms manufacturers, steel, fuel, gunpowder, and construction companies. The same industries controlled by the economic groups that also had stakes in the banks. The same elite that helped create the Federal Reserve was now receiving billions in war contracts. It was a perfect machine, so perfect that it became a business model that was never abandoned. The formula was ready. Create a conflict, sell bonds, inflate the money supply, profit from contracts, and when it's all over, let the population pay the price through inflation. That war was just the beginning, because like any business model, this one only improved with time. And that same cycle is still spinning today. The war in Ukraine drags on with no end in sight. The devastating strikes on Iran in February 2026 opened a dangerous new front. Tensions between China and Taiwan grow worse every day. 3 major pressure points involving the world's biggest powers.
President Trump issued a clear 48-hour ultimatum to Iran to fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz, the artery that carries 1/5 of the world's oil. Once again, the real game is not ideology, it is the control of the energy flow. The price of the barrel skyrockets. The profits of the big oil companies and the banks explode, and the eternal cycle of war, debt, and money printing spins stronger than ever.
Many analysts are already warning. If these conflicts connect, we may be watching the prelude to a third world war. I am Havelock, and this is my vision.